guys, what is up? RedMaster here. Welcome back to part 2 of the mid-August patch review. Earlier today I did look into pretty much, or I guess around half the changes in the mid-August patch. Today, in this video, we'll be looking into the other half. And, you know, there are still some big patches that I didn't cover in the first video. I did want to save some of the big ones for the second part so they wouldn't get left out, or they can have some more emphasis shown on them, however you want to put it. So today, without further ado, we will be jumping into the rest of the patch, and our first changed card that we'll be looking into will be DRAMOTH. Now, DRAMOTH the Eternal had a pretty big change, and probably this is the change that has been most talked about out of all the patch changes. He has been up to 12 goals, so you're going to have to probably think of some creative ways to summon him, which people have already done. He's also got Deflect now, so no longer can be targeted by enemy spells. Great for a dragon of his stature. He's also got a stat increase to 912 from 810, so that's pretty good there. But like I was saying, overall, DRAMOTH now has branched out and actually led to a new breed of decks emerging for summoning him, which is interesting. We've seen some blue-yellow, some green-yellow, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be some other sort of deck types within those two colors that will just make DRAMOTH, again, like, more usable. So, he hasn't seen a complete cutout of play, which is good, but he is probably going to become his own problem now. But him separating from standard heal decks is a pretty good start for him. Although, probably not going, it's probably going to come right back, seeing as how heal decks can be incorporated whenever there's yellow involved. So, I wouldn't say that's completely out of the realm of impossibility for him to make a comeback in those heal decks. So, yeah, pretty big change to DRAMOTH, and one that I'm going to go, you know, I'm a neutral on this one. You know, it's a pretty big change and a pretty important one to DRAMOTH overall, as his own sort of superior. I don't want to say superior card, but big, threatening, in-your-face card. How about that? Yeah. So again, neutral on the change. The next change we have is to Loremaster Tarius. Now, Tarius got a pretty big change, going from 4 to 5 gold, as well as an ability shift, no longer giving you 2 dragons that cost, I think, was it cost less? I think it was, you know, Loremaster giving them a reduced cost. Kind of compare it with Dragon Taming, which is why I'm getting a little lost here. But regardless, he now draws a card, and your next dragon played regardless costs 3 or less. Pretty interesting change, Tarius. Still can be used in dragon decks. I think that's sort of the idea here. But for really, Loremaster is actually probably geared more toward DRAMOTH decks now, if you think about it. His, I guess, cost reducing ability here is a way for DRAMOTH to be played at 9 gold, so pretty interesting there. And drawing the card is good as well. You also get that 2/2 body, again with that range capability, so overall not too bad. I think that just what makes it difficult to use is his cost. You know, at 5 gold, there are several better options to be running. So yeah, not a lot of positivity on the Loremaster change. Some even deeming it as, you know, unplayable. And I don't think it's, you know, that far as to call him unplayable. I just think you have to probably use him in a more strategic way now with this stat change. Not stat change. The cost change. So, but overall, I'm a big yes for the Loremaster change. And I am working with Loremaster in a deck that I probably may be taking to 3K for the September season. I started to think of the month there. But yeah, overall, very happy about this change, and I'm going to give this change a pretty good thumbs up. The next change we have is Dragon Knight. Dragon Knight did get a health reduction from 5 to 3. Interested on this change, seeing as how I didn't see Dragon Knight being played too much. But who knows, I guess Dragon Knight has raised in some popularity, so trying to tone it down a bit, which is alright. I could understand why. But you know, at the same time, I'm sort of like, well, why is this change needing to happen? Is Dragonite becoming really much of an issue? I'm just not sure. So, overall, change is alright to me. The health is fine. So, yeah, nope, I have to fix it that way. So, overall, pretty alright with this change. Not too much to say elsewhere. The next change we have is to the Hassan City Guards. Now this one's kind of a head scratcher. Hassan City Guards did get a reduced movement from 3 to 2, which has really had some negative feedback just overall for this card. And to me, it's sort of like a little head scratcher. You know, why change this card? You know, it just didn't seem that there was nothing wrong with it, and people were using it, so that was a good sign. I guess possibly the thing I could see happening is that they wanted to shift this card, dim it down a little less so other cards can be featured in decks. You know, maybe it was overpopulated. I'm just not too sure about that. But regardless, I think the Hassan City Guard the change itself did sort of possibly kill this card's playability. Not too sure. Hopefully Hassan City Guards are still being run. But to me, big negative, you know, big thumbs down for me on this change. Just because I didn't think it needed to happen. Didn't really need to happen. The next change we have is actually two cards here. It's both for Questing Knight and for Reckless Knight, since they are technically sort of the same card. But both of them really just got a stat change from 3 through to 2-4. That's alright. I think it fits the Knights better to have more of a health strength rather than an attack strength. So really just kind of evening it out between the two Knights. You know, you got the Earth Knight, which is at 1, I think 5 now, a change that we'll get into pretty soon. And I think no, I don't think that's a Knight. But usually any Knight that you guys can... Oh, Door Knight. That guy's got 10 HP. He's, you know, crazy amount of health. So, yeah, it kind of just makes it so that the Knights are a bit more beefier and they focus more on the health rather than the attack, like I said. So, overall, good change. The next change we have is the Crumbling Archive. They did get a gold increase to 3 from 2. Pretty iffy on this change, seeing as how I use Crumbling Archive a lot for my sources of draw, and to see it put in the 3G slot with books and, you know, other drawing cards like Shaman. I can understand why they did this, to really emphasize the fact that draw is important, and I guess that you should be paying a good amount of gold if you want to spend a card simply on drawing. But yeah, I'm overall, again, feeling iffy because I did use it, so I do have some bias towards this change. But I guess in the long run I can understand as to why, so I would say that this is probably one of the better changes. Next change we have is Monk. Monk did get a health reduction actually from 7 to 5, and you know, Monk has sort of, for some players, just dropped off the radar because of this. I guess for 6 gold for a 5/5, that wasn't that, you know, when you've had Grudgebear who's been at 5/5 and 4 and people weren't playing him, what makes you think that a 6 gold will do any better? Despite giving the health aspect, Monk is just not worth it to most players anymore. So this change really sort of dropped him off the map in terms of competitiveness, and I can understand to see why. You know, that 7 did give you a bit more beef. It did make sure you survive longer. It was like Santa's current stat line. You want to throw him in because not because of the RNG, but because he's beefy. He's got those good stats. So yeah, to me this Monk change was a big negative for the card overall, but I can understand again why this needed to happen, because of they wanted to drop Monk from the competitive scene, I guess, for a little while, which is fine. So yeah, I would say it did that job pretty well, so kudos on that change. Next up on the list is Sacrifice. Sacrifice did get a cost increase from 0 gold to 1 gold. Pretty intrigued on this change. I, again, don't know why it needed to happen, but not too sure if this really negatively impacts the card at all. Sacrifice hasn't been a card that I have seen being used, I guess, unless alongside the Tarius Files, which is probably what this card is more designed towards. But even then, people go with Grotesque Offering for a quadruple draw rather than a Sacrifice for damage and 2 draw. So pretty intrigued again on this change as a whole. So I'm going to stay neutral on this because I don't know how this will affect the card moving forward. And again, intrigued to see how an impact will be made with this new cost increase. So yeah. Next up is Earth Knight. Earth Knight did get a stat reduction or health reduction really to 5 from 6, and did get a knockback reduction to 3. So again, I think with Earth Knight, the primary concern was that it was more geared toward, or supposed to be more geared toward knights rather than obstacles. I think they're trying to do that here. They're trying to make sure that Earth Knight is either A, being killed faster, or B, doesn't really have enough knockback to shoot an obstacle at your opponents. So, pretty good change if you're trying to gear Earth Knight more towards knights. And, yeah, I mean, that's all I really have to say on this change, seeing as how it's kind of obvious maybe what they're trying to do with this. So, good job in trying to scoot Earth Knight away from obstacles. But, although they may not be the case, you know, because Earth Knight is just too damn good with obstacles, you know. Next up is Swordsman. Swordsman did get a stat reduction from 4-5. Well, I don't know if it's a reduction. It's technically like a reduction and an increase. Attack went down to 3, but health went up to 6. I think they're really trying to just probably balance out Swordsman's cleave with the new spawn points now, and this is like, I think, the final stat change, hopefully, that we see towards Swordsman to really gear it into the right slot of where they really want him to be. I think the stats are pretty good. You're getting at the same attack as when you use a warrior for cleave. Maybe if they're trying to promote warrior as well, I think this is a good way to do so. But yeah, overall, I think the Swordsman's change is pretty good. There's definitely ways to power up Swordsman for more attack if you're unhappy with the attack where it is. But yeah, I think that's pretty good. So not much else to say from there. Our next change will be the Kunoichi. The Kunoichi did get a health reduction from 5 to 4. Now, a couple of immediate responses to this would be, well, why did you have 5 health when you were just going to immediately revert it right back to 4? And I think that's because of what happened to a bunch of other game units, which have also been changed. Changes like to Rammus, Faithful Drake, Ice Drake, Dwarf Minor, which we'll get into, of course, later on. They're all sort of targets for why Kunoichi was changed. In terms of what this does for Kunoichi, it doesn't really lower her power. She can still pretty much trade effectively with several of the early game units in her sort of gold tier. So definitely don't think this is a bad change at all for Kunoichi. So overall, I think it's a good change to balance out for the other changes that we'll be discussing, of course, later on in the video. Next up, we have the Dwarf Minor. The Dwarf Minor actually did get a attack reduction from 4 to 3. I think it's alright that Dwarf Minor did get reduced. He was certainly a strong body for 2 gold at 4-4. I think being at 3-4 definitely sets him up as, you know, one of the stronger bodies, but not overly powerful, whereas you can summon him immediately to take care of possibly a bigger threat than his, I guess, recommended gold level, if that makes any sense. So, yeah, not much to really go on here. I think Dwarf Minor's change was pretty effective in sort of decreasing the threat level of Minor overall, but still having him as effective to use as a early dwarf card. Next up, we have the Fire Drake. The Fire Drake did actually get a health reduction from 5 to 4 health. Pretty good in my opinion. Fire Drake was a bit scary to deal with at 5, especially when you're getting buffs from things like Dragon Temple and Aeroth. It just increases Fire Drake's threat level on the board. So I think being at 4 HP definitely evens him out a bit more. And yeah, overall, pretty good change on Fire Drake. Not much else to touch up on there. So yeah, pretty good. Next up, we have the Rammus change. Rammus going from 4 HP to 3 HP. Pretty interesting to see this card get toned down, and definitely a big blow to monster users. Some saying that Rammus was a very early strength of theirs, but now being brought down to 3 attack it decreases Rammus's, I guess, threat level of being that early monster that really puts the pressure on opponents. And I don't know if I can agree with that, because I haven't really used Rammus. I don't like Rammus in my decks just because he's too slow for me. And with monsters, you kind of want to be aggressive. You kind of want to be a bit in their face. But, yeah, I think this is definitely going to maybe be a final, I guess, below to Rammus. I'm not too sure. People are still using Rammus for good reasons because he is a monster. And with monster decks, you kind of have to want to use monsters. So, I guess. So, yeah, pretty neutral on the Rammus change. But I would say overall, it's probably bad for monster decks as a whole. Next up, we have the Faithful Drake getting a health reduction as well, similar to Rammus from 4 to 3. Good change. I think a lot of the Drakes are actually being toned down. I think we just have Ice Drake to actually review, and along with Fire Drake, I think a lot of the early Drakes just got probably toned down, and that's rightfully all right with me. Don't want to have them flying, too out of, don't want to get them too out of control. So pretty good change. Again, not much to discuss here, because Faithful Drake is sort of like that early unit and one that isn't too strong. So changes already are not going to be that much impactful on cards like Faithful Drake. Like I mentioned in the Faithful Drake review, the Ice Drake did get changed as well, being I think that change. What was the big deal on Ice Drake? Oh yeah, his health did get reduced again, just like Faithful and Rammus from 4 to 3. Again, kind of going off what I said here from Faithful Drake. Again, just a lot of toning down on some of the bigger Drake, earlier Drakes, Fire Drake, Faithful Drake, and Ice Drake. So again, not going to say too much on this one because it kind of again all ties together. It sort of all relates into one, with the whole toning down of early Drakes, so they don't get too powerful too quickly and just dominate, because that wouldn't be too much fun. Next we have Acolyte. Acolyte did get a nerf in a sense that she did get cost increased to 3, and I think that's kind of a shame for Acolyte. Acolyte was definitely a great card for 2 gold and get some zombie bodies to work with. I think now, being at 3 gold, some people are striving away from Acolyte, saying it's too late for her to come out at 3. And I can kind of understand why. With Acolyte, you are hoping to generate some bodies and kind of be able to build up a tiny board presence earlier with Acolyte. And probably this change doesn't do that sort of much justice. Overall, pretty unhappy myself with the Acolyte change. Probably going to actually stop using her in a couple of my decks because of this. So, yeah, with that being said, a bad change to Acolyte indeed. Next card is the Awaken Rage. The Awaken Rage did get a stat buff. Rather than giving +1/+1, it gives +2/+2. Pretty interesting. I do like how they're giving some, again, more attention to Awaken. The Awaken Rage is actually probably the last card on this patch note list that regards to Awaken. So, yeah, definitely, again, gearing into the right direction for making Awaken somewhat viable. Awaken Rage now a better option, especially with that 2/2. Definitely not something to laugh at. So overall, good change to Awaken Rage, and yeah, it just increases the viability of Awaken decks even further with this new change. Our final change will be the Merchant's Estate. It did get a big health jump to 5 HP. I think this is great for Greed decks. I know Greed deck is sort of like this dead archetype right now that no one is using, but I think with the Merchant's Estate being at 5 health, it's definitely going to be tough to get rid of it early, which means that you can really benefit off of the gold gain that you're going to get from Merchant's Estate, meaning that you can jump from, turn 3 Assassins, turn 5 Tyrannosaurs, all these possibilities, just from having this Merchant's Estate out. So I am experimenting with Merchant's Estate right now. I'm excited for the Greed deck I have with it, and yeah, so very good change. I approve of this change 100%. And with Merchant's Estate, that will finish it up for the patch. That is the full August 2017 patch review for Cards and Castles. If you guys did enjoy, please make sure to leave a like on this video, share with your friends, and comment down below your thoughts on some of these changes. If you haven't already checked out part 1 of this 2-part review, you can go check out the link in the in the description below for a link for part 1. And yeah, if you guys haven't already done so, be sure to enter code RedMaster if you are on Android or Steam and haven't used a promo code before to gain 5 free packs, as well as a castle skin. And if you are new to the channel, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. That's all you guys need to do to show support to the channel. Just hit that subscribe. Absolutely no cost to you. So, with that being said, guys, until the next video, stay gaming.